Zoe provided a crucial report, risking his and his team's lives to gather information to eliminate a potential threat. With the enemy's strength unknown, it was deemed too dangerous to send their lord to the front lines. The operation proceeded smoothly, with trust placed in Gobta, Gabil, and the team. Benimaru's words resonated deeply with their lord, despite the unsettling feeling in his chest. From the beginning, Benimaru had prioritized his safety. Shion, Soei, Diablo, and Shuna also prepared for the harsh reality of sacrifice. Those on the front lines stood ready to confront an unseen threat. Even the self-indulgent Veldora sat quietly in the control center, prepared to protect if necessary. They all committed to protecting their king, who had not yet come to terms with this reality. A voice from Raphael reminded him of the need for perfection. Realizing the worry of those around him, he resolved to join them with a clear mind, apologizing for losing his cool. He received reassurance from Benimaru, whose fearless smile promised victory. The commander was serious, responsible for his soldiers' lives, and his words dispelled all unpleasant feelings. Accepting the reality of death and sacrifice, the king understood his role wasn't just for his sake, but for the families and the nation he symbolized. For these very reasons, he could never allow them to be defeated. As a symbol, he needed to act the part and deliver a suitable performance. Realizing this, he resolved to give Benimaru the relaxed response he hoped for. With Benimaru's consent and cooperation, he prepared to transmit his will to his people through the unique skill born leader, ensuring they received his statement mentally. He spoke with conviction, urging them to crush the enemy with all their might, without mercy, and to eliminate them as quickly as possible. He poured his heart into his words, which resonated with Benimaru and the other officers, who understood the true meaning of his command, the full release of their restrained power. Correctly interpreting his message, the monsters resumed their assignments with renewed vigor. Thanks to this, the battlefield was about to undergo a dramatic change. The monsters on the battlefield wholeheartedly embraced Rimuru's commands, their souls resonating with the words of their absolute ruler. Another voice then commanded them to cancel the disguise operation and eliminate the foes tormenting Rimuru until nothing was left of them. Freed from their restraints, the monsters felt joy and unleashed their full magical force. The demonic auras they had kept suppressed to protect their town were now fully released, causing the concentration of magicules to surge. With nothing left to fear, they allowed their deepest instincts to drive them, transforming the battlefield with their unleashed power. On a chaotic battlefield, Gobta received an order amidst shellfire. He wondered if their goals had been met, and Gobchi, his second-in-command, said they needed to scare the enemy to draw out their strongest fighters. Despite the bombardment, they communicated effectively. Gobchi reminded Gobta of his rank, though Gobta downplayed it. The goblin riders awaited Gobta's command while seeking shelter from the precise shelling. Their strategy was to survive the shock waves, as they were strong enough to endure anything but direct hits. Benimaru's plan was to pretend to be in crisis, blocking the enemy's retreat for a counterattack. Gobta followed orders despite wanting to complain, knowing Benimaru's military ruthlessness and Rimuru's safety were at stake. Mentioning Rimuru's name convinced the riders to follow the plan. Initially, they struggled to overwhelm the enemy, so they stuck to their decoy role. But with new orders from Rimuru and Benimaru, they were ready to unleash their full power. Gobta sent a thought communication to his squad mates amidst the chaotic battlefield, giving them permission to attack freely. He noted that while the green numbers were under Hakuro's command, the riders were to follow Gobchi. Gobchi, curious, asked, "What's your plan, General Gobta?" With a troubled smile, Gobta replied, "I can't play around anymore. It's an order from Sir Rimuru, and I have to get serious now." Seeing Gobta's rare seriousness, the team knew he meant business. Gobchi encouraged him, recognizing his capabilities. Gobta sighed, recalling their long history together and how he often absorbed unnecessary knowledge from Rimuru. Turning to Testarossa, Gobta said, "Testarossa, I'd like us to go our separate ways from here." Testarossa, always graceful even amidst the chaos, nodded and replied, "Yes, of course. From now, I will act not as an observer, but as an individual under Sir Rimuru. Please do your best." With that, Testarossa dismounted Ranga and walked away gracefully. Her role as an observer, assigned by Rimuru, was now over. Gobta watched her leave, acknowledging her free spirit. After seeing Testarossa off, Gobta decided it was time to act. He sent a thought communication to his squadmates, giving them the order to attack freely. The troops responded with enthusiastic shouts. Gobta wanted Rimuru to see his dedication. He admired Rimuru for being both kind and reliable, despite sometimes being selfish and mean. Gobta then instructed Gobchi to take charge of the riders and turned to Ranga, commanding him to transform. Ranga, who had been waiting for this moment, eagerly complied. Their consciousnesses synced, and they released their inner magic power, enveloping Gobta in a black mist. When the mist cleared, Gobta had transformed into a humanoid wolf with 2 ominous horns, fully unified with Ranga. Seeing this, Gobchi and the goblin riders rushed out of hiding. Gobchi warned the others not to interfere with Gobta, who was now fighting with serious determination. With Ranga's power, Gobta swatted tank shells out of the air, his reinforced black fur protecting him from harm. The Imperial troops were terrified by this sight, unable to believe the strength of the Demon Lord's warriors. Panic spread among the soldiers, especially those trapped in the tanks, as they witnessed Gobta's newfound power. With a howl from Gobta, dark lightning stormed down on the tank crews. The tanks, now transformed into a fortress, became prime targets. The lightning interfered with their defensive barriers, emitting blinding light. While the crews inside were safe from electrocution, the nearby infantry suffered greatly. The heat generated by the bolts overwhelmed the tanks, causing serious damage to their mechanical parts. One by one, the tanks exploded into flames, becoming death traps for their crews. Desperate to escape, the crews abandoned the tanks, scattering to avoid further lightning strikes. Military command disintegrated as panic set in, turning the troops into a defeated army. Gobta observed the scene with a smile, confident in the power he and his cohort wielded. The once threatening enemy force no longer seemed formidable in their demon wolf form. He faced the wall of tanks, now emitting black smoke from Ranga's lightning. With a roar, a voice cannon, Gobta shattered the wall. On the other side, Gobta saw a line of tanks aiming at him. More than enough to play with, he thought. Gobta and Ranga nodded at each other, ready to act. Without hesitation, Gobta dived through the burned-out wall of tanks and sped across the battlefield, faster than the speed of sound, making him invisible to the Imperials. "Just watch what Ranga and I have been working on. Dance! With wolves!" Gobta shouted. A dark gale rushed across the battlefield, creating a destructive sonic boom that slammed into the tanks. The shockwave, enhanced by the Storm of Destruction skill, grew into a powerful dragon storm of destruction, devastating the enemy forces. One corner of the battlefield collapsed under the onslaught, showcasing Gobta's fearsome power and the result of his training with Ranga. As Gobta began his rampage on the ground, changes occurred in the sky led by Gabil's Third Corps. Following Benimaru's orders, Gabil's team provided cover for the Goblin Riders. When that became difficult, they moved to the next mission without panicking. They were part of the same pretend-to-lose strategy, aiming to make the enemy reveal their trump cards by maintaining a stalemate. Despite the risks, Gabil and Gobta embraced the plan, knowing they could evacuate if necessary. Gabil admired Gobta's brashness, noting their similarities. Even amidst the chaos, Gabil aimed to shoot down an airship. However, the enemy proved stronger than expected, neutralizing their magic and fireball attacks, leaving Gabil's team at a disadvantage. Their role was to distract the airships. Gabil considered attacking with full force, but decided patience was key. He accepted the role of a sitting duck, aware of the Wyvern Riders' vulnerabilities. These elite riders had low magic resistance and could be easily shot down by large-scale attacks. Therefore, Gabil asked the Wyvern Riders to withdraw. He approached Lady Ultima, proposing to enhance their pretend-to-lose strategy by making Team Hiryu more susceptible to magic attacks to bait the enemy. Gabil explained this would help them build resistance and demonstrate their endurance, using recovery potions to recover from any damage. Ultima laughed at Gabil's wild idea, while the rest of Team Hiryu looked less enthusiastic. They questioned his sanity, but Ultima approved the plan, allowing Gabil's group to attempt the risky maneuver. Groans and complaints rose, but their excitement was evident. As Rimuru watched, worried, Gabil's team engaged in impromptu magical endurance training, taking damage from the airship's magic. Rimuru was furious when he learned the truth, but Gabil's influence on his team persisted. Hearing Rimuru's order in his mind, Gabil shouted, "The training time is over. Now it is time to turn these skies into a graveyard." His troops, excited, prepared for battle. Gabil urged them on, despite some reluctance, and they rallied behind him, ready to fight with full strength. Gabil sized up the Flying Combat Corps and shouted, "Who are the champions of the skies?" Team Hiryu responded confidently, "It is us, Team Hiryu." The mood shifted, and Gabil declared their mission to rid the skies of their enemies, as per Sir Rimuru's royal decree. Gabil's command carried special meaning. He reminded them not to lose consciousness and ordered, "All troops, enter Dragon Body." Team Hiryu sprang into action, unleashing their secret weapon. Dragon Body increased their fighting power and ferocity, but made it difficult to control themselves. They had trained hard to master this ability. With Rimuru's order to give their all, they had no reason to hesitate. Shouting, "Dragon Mode!" they unleashed their true force. Muscles swelled, purple scales turned jet black, and their bodies grew larger and tougher. Their offensive and defensive capabilities soared, becoming far stronger than before. Importantly, they maintained their consciousness, preventing themselves from becoming rampaging monsters. This was the moment when the true force of the Dragon Warriors, the most powerful fighting corps in Tempest, came into effect. Gabil commanded Team Hiryu to take down one airship each, and they responded enthusiastically, moving in unison. The Flying Combat Corps of the Empire, once formidable, were now helpless against the Dragon Warriors. By unleashing Dragon Body, Gabil and his team nullified the enemy's magic and became immune to all physical and magical attacks. With enhanced abilities, they were well beyond their original strength, and their healing skills approached ultra-speed regeneration. Gabil declared it was time for his special finisher. With his powerful magicules, he performed the vortex crash, sending an airship hurtling to the ground. The air currents concentrated into a maelstrom of magical power, piercing straight through the airship's barrier and downing it instantly. The rest of the Dragon Warriors followed suit, using their enhanced physical abilities to charge at the airships. The ship's barriers provided no protection, and soon the Dragon Warriors breached them, invading the ships. 5 Dragon Warriors swarmed each ship, taking only a few minutes to bring one down. It was just a matter of time before the entire Flying Combat Corps was wiped out. Gabil, getting carried away, encouraged his warriors to keep up the attacks, hinting at consequences for those who failed. Hearing this, the lagging Team Hiryu members exchanged worried glances. With only 100 airships and Gabil's relentless attacks, there were few targets left. They complained about Gabil's moodiness, knowing he might leave no prey for them. Despite their grumbling, they quickly joined the attack, aware of Gabil's judgment on airships taken down by teams. The positions of predator and prey now reversed.